Holy bloody moly, you need to check out the Onyx Xencoin right about now. This is the Block Ball bringing you the latest episode to the channel. Now, we do have some remarkable breakthrough here. Now, today I was chatting along in the Discord and I was going to do a Bitcoin video and my prediction for the end of cycle. However, today is the day for Onyx Xencoin. So not only have we broke out of this major market structure here, which has been marked out with this massive yellow line all the way from the inception of sort of February of this year, end of January, beginning of February, we've created this sort of wedge-like sort of resistance, if you will. Now, we did have a breakthrough here, but you can see here we've created this sort of narrow channel, and it's only today we have busted a gut out of here. So Onyx Xencoin, at the time of recording, we are breaking out now. So hopefully we can see a close. You know what? By the time this video gets out, we could be going absolutely parabolic. Who's to know? However, we are breaking structure right now, which is a massive, massive success for this suppressed token. Okay, so this is absolutely huge. Now, I'm just going to take this as well. Again, you guys, we've been forming this now for the past sort of 9 months. When we get to the end of these apexes, this is exactly what's happening here. We've caught at the close there, catching these sort of highs up here, and it looks to me as if Onyx Xencoin is leaving the station. So if you're not involved in Onyx Xencoin, never financial advice, but I feel sorry for those that are sidelined with dry capital right now, because this is the time, in my opinion, to be getting in, especially having broken that this upper resistance as well right here. Yeah, really strong day. I'm just going to make some slight alterations as well, just to see if we can sort of encapsulate. We don't need that bottom line. We're not interested in support right now because we're tackling resistance. Ultimately, I would be I would be inclined to actually mark out these highs as well. This is just me sort of marking out when we can expect the actual big moves, like the proper explosive moves. Yes, we're breaking out, but in my view, there's still a little bit of headwind and the last final of sort of resistance before we start going into a parabolic sort of fashion. So this is where I would be inclined to mark out the sort of resistance on this sort of structure. Okay, now at this time of recording, we've still got approximately 22% to get up. So this is what I think Onyx Xencoin is going to do before, well, it's Thursday now. The thing is, come Friday evening, we'll lose the momentum, and then usually you get a bit of a dip Saturday, Sunday. So you know what? Onyx Xencoin, I wouldn't be surprised if we did get a thrust up there either today, tomorrow, and then we start maybe rejecting of this yellow line. So stay tuned for that. That could be a possibility, and there's a strong chance that could happen. In fact, now we've covered Onyx Xencoin, that's all I've got to say on the matter with Onyx Xencoin. I do believe we got that 22% move on the table. Okay, and then that way, ultimately, what we've been doing is creating this sort of structure here. Okay, don't tell me, guys. Do not tell me, guys. Now I've marked that out. If I just drag these out, we could even be trading longer. Yeah, this could ultimately produce a bigger bull pen, and I hope that's not the case. Either way, listen, if we're just looking at the short term, I believe we've got that 22% move. So 22% move, we'll actually reassess. Okay, we'll see what the price action is doing. So that's around 1.5 cents. We'll see what Onyx Xencoin is doing at that point, whether or not we want to sell and sort of fade the market and ping pong into the sort of end of the month, maybe rolling into sort of November. Just out of interest, I'm going to see how long this sort of prolonged period is. Yeah, if we just keep dragging these out, again, I'm still accounting for these closes above and below. It's coming out around there. When's that end of that apex? So that's coming out around sort of Friday the 19th of December. Okay. What I'm doing is, guys, I'm just trying to be conservative and give the sort of, not necessarily the worst case scenario, but in terms of setting expectations, yeah, because everybody believes things are just going to happen. Boom. There and then, yeah, upon a breakout. Things do take time. So, again, I'm just preparing people emotionally and setting expectations. Yeah, something along them sort of lines. That could happen. That is, in my view, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, effectively, would be we just absolutely capitulate and go down there. But realistically, is that going to happen at this stage, especially with this bull pennant now and breaking out on these sort of smaller sort of time frames or smaller sort of structures? Let me just delete that and that. Again, for me, this was a fake out up here. Okay, so I do believe we are going much higher. Like I say, 22% is what I've got my eye on, 1.5 cent. I'll take 20% all day long, even if it's before end of this weekend. That would be great. However, let's move on now to Bitcoin. I'm going to cover Bitcoin, and that was my intentions before I did see Onyx Xencoin breaking out. And you can see here, Bitcoin is also breaking out as well. I was marking a sort of fake out down here the last time I actually covered Bitcoin. And I did have, again, I've not actually been on the Bitcoin chart for a long time. And I did have marked out Friday the 3rd of October where I would expect to break out. Again, that's happened a day early, so I weren't too far off Bitcoin. But this is the beauty of marking these structures and these trend lines. You need to be extremely accurate, like 1 degree off can account for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is why everybody's people who watch the channel or other sort of technical analysis in the sort of landscape over on YouTube, they'll say they're wrong when effectively, 1 degree off with one of these lines. For example, if I just move it 1 degree, I could stretch that out way more, like 1 degree, stretch it out way more. So that's adding on. If I did something like that, that's adding on an extra 6 weeks. And this is why people grow frustrated. Yeah. So this is where we are now with Bitcoin. I do believe we are breaking out on Bitcoin, which is fantastic news for the whole of crypto. Obviously, we do need Bitcoin dominance to fall. That doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin dominance can't fall, even though Bitcoin's rallying. Yeah. Altcoins could outpace Bitcoin. Bitcoin could still be moving up, but because we're outpacing Bitcoin, the dominance is falling for Bitcoin, and that only spells tremendous gains for altcoins. Now, to wrap up, let's well, not even to wrap up, but to get to the nuts and crannies of Bitcoin, I did mention over in the Bitcoin in the Discord where Bitcoin could get to this cycle, because there's a lot of different figures. Now, I've got this highlighted here. So this is a Bitcoin halving cycle profit indicator. Okay, so this is what I technically do a lot of my analysis on in terms of sort of timing the markets on a macro scale. Yeah, there's no real solution in the sort of short to medium term. It just doesn't exist, because majority of the cycles revolve around the Bitcoin halving, which is marked out on these orange. So we've got 19th of April 2024 of last year, and then obviously you've got the start of when the profits begin to come in, and then eventually a sort of scale out into these sort of green sort of vertical lines here, and then the red, that would indicate the end of the cycle. So according to historical events, Bitcoin cycle is actually going to come to an end around the sort of 3rd of November, according to this sort of indicator, which is fine, because look at this. It's not too far out. This red line here, the blue line caught the top there. So it's literally, these are weeks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within 6 weeks, this indicator has caught the top for Bitcoin. Yeah. Let's just have a look at this one here. We weren't too far wrong. Let's have a look. I'm just looking for the measurement here. So that's 28 weeks. So that's a little bit longer. But you know what? I'm not even fussed about that, because the thing is, I should say it, not spray it. I must have just spat across it onto my laptop then by mistake. Even at the top here of this cycle, even to here, in fact, that's the wrong tool. Even if I'm just catching these weekly closes here to here, oh, that's quite heavy. That it looks like we're still trading really high up there on the charts. That's a 35% dip, so we're not done too bad. To me, there, if you're cashing out there at Bitcoin, I think you've done a really good job. And then obviously come crashing down there into the bear market. So even though it's not 100% accurate, I still feel like you are literally capturing the majority of the move and the majority of the cycle. So if I just scroll out for you guys, I'm just going to close that down, and I'm going to show you guys my explanation as to why I do believe Bitcoin can get to this particular high this cycle. Now, what I want to do is I do want that indicator on. I just don't want all this overlapping stuff. So I don't want any of that. Don't want that. I literally just want the Bitcoin halving date. That's all I want. Okay, I like my charts clean. So what's happened here is this is the beginning of an 18-month cycle. And again, typically Bitcoin cycles in 18 months after the Bitcoin halving. Now, as you can see, in this particular halving, this was the high right here. So we made like a double top here. Okay, and then we come down to, in fact, I'm going to use the previous cycle just to explain you guys. So this was the 2016 halving. We ran up here, created the high, and then we come back down here. Now, after the law of the high, this is what I'm using, guys. So to better explain, this is the law here. Okay, we've set the cycle high here. So what we're doing is getting the law after the high. Okay, and then all we're going to do is measure up to 50% and plot this measured move. So we need the high after the law, which is here. So it has to be here. So this is the high, and it's got to be before the next halving. Okay, so all I'm going to do is plot that there. Yeah, so we go from the bottom of that cycle after we put the peak in all the way to the top there, and this marks out this particular price up here. Okay, $60,000. Once we have the Bitcoin halving here with this orange vertical line, we created a double top here. And look at where that yellow line is. It's acting as resistance, and that's marked out the top of that cycle. Yeah, so all I'm going to be doing is using this theoretical sort of framework that I've just shown you guys in this video. So what we're looking at is the previous cycle high, which is here. So what we need is the low after that cycle, which is here. And then what I want to be doing is going up to the high before that orange Bitcoin halving here. So we can go up to here. So the high's around here. So you could probably take it a little bit higher, somewhere around there. I would expect roughly around this sort of price action. If I mark out there, around this sort of price. Yeah, maybe a tad low if I try and make that a little bit more accurate. Very, very sensitive. I'm looking at around that sort of figure for Bitcoin, which is approximately 320, anywhere between $320 to $325,000 Bitcoin. That, in my view, will probably mark the top of Bitcoin this cycle. Now, we are currently trading here. I've marked out resistance already. And again, we can just mark out where we've been breaking out from here. We broke out structure. We've got a clean breakout on this weekly candle now, and we are heading up. Okay. We are going to head up. It's not going to happen overnight. Obviously, these are weekly candles, yeah. It could take until the end of the year. It doesn't really matter. I'm not really fussed in how long. Things will take as long as they take, yeah. I'll wait at the bus stop until the bus comes. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't need to know when the buses are due to arrive, because buses all arrive at the same time. But what I will be saying is I'll know when it's arrived, okay? And I will know when Bitcoin's at the high, okay, around sort of 320, 325k. That is my prediction for Bitcoin, and that'll probably be then the sort of final call. That'll be a warning sign then for altcoins. Altcoins will probably continue running for an extra 4 weeks. So 4 weeks after Bitcoin hits approximately 320k, I'd be looking at selling my bags, and that goes across all altcoins. That's large caps, mid caps, low cap gems. I don't care. I will be out of Bitcoin at that point. So I haven't got a specific date on it. I'm not doing it by date. I'm doing the time analysis from the point when Bitcoin hits 320k. As soon as Bitcoin hits 320k, I'll set an alert and I'll set a 4 week window. 4 weeks after that window, I am out of crypto. I am done. and then you probably won't see me as often as you do now, even though I only show up on YouTube every couple of episodes every week now. I used to do them like 5 to 6 times a week at one point. That's when crypto was doing really well. I mean, if we start seeing more positive price action, I'm more than happy to jump on YouTube more often, because we've got something to talk about and everybody's positive, yeah? Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Do what you got to do. Let me know your prediction for Bitcoin and XCN. Okay, I've been the Block Bull. Until next time, the Block Bull is over and out.